Hey, it's Liz DiAlto, and this is the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast. From body image, sex, spirituality, money and relationships, to motherhood, creativity, business, communication, and desire, Untamed the Wild Soul Woman is the place to come for real stories and powerful advice to help you reclaim and redefine womanhood in the 21st century. Elizabeth DiAlto here with a quick announcement and special invitation for you before we get into today's episode. If you've been listening to the podcast for the past several weeks, you've heard me mention that I am currently filling a 6-month mentorship that'll start in January and run through June in 2016. It's called the Untame Yourself Women's Leadership Council, and I just wanted to take a moment before the show today to give you a little more information in case you've been thinking about applying, wondering if you should apply, and would like to know, is this something that you could personally benefit from in 2016? So to give you an idea of the type of women that are applying and what women really seem to have in common is a lot of transitions. I'm getting a lot of women applying for the mentorship who are either transitioning in careers, in relationships, or going through transitions of their kids being young, and now they're a little more old and are having time and space to do more things for themselves. So a lot of transitions are coming together in the group. I'm also noticing a lot of women who are ambivalent in relationships, who are wondering if they should be in a certain relationship, not in a certain relationship. And of course, women who are desiring to connect more to their own femininity, to really learn to trust, love, and accept themselves, know who they are, and really develop a strong personal identity if for whatever reason in their life, they just don't feel like they have one. They don't feel super connected to themselves, their own personal truth, their power, or their soul. And also to give you an idea of the women I'm accepting, man, it's been so cool to see how many women have a real laundry list of things that they're just sick and tired of, that they're super fed up with, and have finally come to a place where they're ready to deal with it. They're super scared. They don't necessarily know how to do it on their own, and they don't necessarily have a support system. And so a lot of women I'm accepting are super excited to have the support system, to have a mentor, and to have a guide as they navigate these struggles and these challenges. I'm also noticing there's a lot of women who are just ready. They are ready to take these things head on finally, and they're no longer willing to silently suffer or struggle, or to pretend that these things aren't happening, or to let them go unresolved in their lives. So if you want to apply, you can go to untameyourself.com/mentorship. And I'll share one more thing with you. The process of filling out the application alone is worth the experience, because the questions I put on that application aren't just questions that help me figure out whether or not I'd want to invite you to the mentorship, but there are probably also questions that knowing the answers to would be really valuable and useful for you to get clear on going into 2016. Some of these are questions that you're probably not asking yourself, and it's super useful to even just go through the experience of filling out the application. So don't count yourself out. Don't think you need to be any kind of special type of person, certain kind of person. If you have any of the issues, if you have any of the struggles or any of the desires that I already described and mentioned, go ahead and fill out that application at untameyourself.com/mentorship. I'll be taking applications through December 30th only, and I will be wrapping up interviews in the first week of January. So don't miss out on an experience because you're feeling scared or nervous. If you feel any kind of tug, fill out that application, and I can't wait to speak with you. Now for today's show. Elizabeth DiAlto here, your host for the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast, with our last Ask Elizabeth episode of 2015. So before we dive in, I just want to thank you again, whether you're new to the show, whether you've been faithfully tuning in for months now. This is just one of my favorite things I've ever had the opportunity to do. I love the podcast. I love getting your messages, your emails, your tweets, your Facebook messages. I love the conversations that come up in the Facebook group. So let's definitely keep that momentum. We'll definitely keep it going in 2016. I have some new segments on the way for you. In addition to interviewing, amazing mentors, guides, leaders, professionals, and all kinds of things like that, I'm also going to be sharing client and customer success stories with you. So I'm going to be interviewing women who go through my programs, and so they can share their experience. Some of these women are, will have just read my book, or have done Wild Soul Movement, or have come to one of my weekends, and it's dual purpose. Obviously as a business person, it's always useful to show people like what the experience of your services is like. However, for years and years and years, I've known this for my own self and in seeing how it works phenomenally with others, that, because I'm the host, because I'm the author, because I'm the creator of everything around here, sometimes I can say things and you'll hear me and you'll take it to heart and you'll use it. But sometimes hearing the results of someone who isn't the teacher, who's, quote, a regular person, which all I mean by that is someone who is just participating, like they're not teaching, they're not coaching, they're not guiding, they're living their life in their own way, maybe not running a business or anything like that, but just, regular people like you. And again, I'm actually not really enjoying the way that regular sounds. I don't like to create separation. All I mean is, participants in programs. Sometimes just hearing success stories of people who you feel more on a peer level with is a lot more inspiring than anything I can say. And the operative sentence there was that you feel more on a peer level with. So I always want to remind you, I'm here to be in the trenches and be in it right with you. If we were, walking down the street, we'd be walking down the street together. I wouldn't need to be a couple paces ahead of you. It's never my intention to be on a pedestal. And, this reminds me of something before we dive in. I talk about self-trust a lot, and at the center of everything I do and teach is to really help you get to a place where you can connect to yourself, love yourself, trust yourself, and honor yourself. And so, sometimes people go, oh, well, if I'm supposed to be trusting myself, maybe I shouldn't be reaching outside of myself for help or for guidance. And so, yes and no. Always ask yourself why you're reaching outside of yourself. If you're reaching outside of yourself for external validation, that's never great. But if you're reaching outside of yourself to get the tools and the practices and the skills so that you can develop them and become a sovereign being, become much more self-sufficient and loving and trusting at working your way and moving your way through your life, there's never anything wrong with that. Even myself, I just invested in another coach for the year 2016 because there's some big things I want to do. So there's a lot of value in having a guide. And so I'll come back around and I'll tell you a cool story about that at the end of the episode here. But real quick, I'm going to read something to you. I started writing a post about this on Facebook yesterday, the topic of this podcast episode, and I decided instead to make it into a podcast episode because I really had a lot to say about it. But here's what I started to write. I said, I love to see so many New Year's offerings popping up and all the different ways people create to help you move into a new year and live better than you did in the previous year. So I don't know about you, but I've seen no shortage of Facebook events or invites or calls and webinars and things like that. I even just ran one myself yesterday. So as you peruse the options, what I wrote is, remember, taking advice from people you know already have what you want or have had the experiences you desire to have is always a good choice. Be careful of people teaching things they haven't embodied or experienced. Ask yourself, do you want to learn from someone who's faking it till they make it, which is advice a lot of entrepreneurs get, by the way, and something I've definitely done myself before in my early days, or someone who has walked the path they're guiding you along and is living their message. So last week in Kauai, Michael and I, we were standing right between two competing kayak companies, and one of them you could just rent the kayak, go on the adventure, find the hike, find the waterfall, and do all that stuff on your own. And the other, you could pay a little bit more to have a guide who has done the journey hundreds of times, knows all kinds of cool things about the area and the island and all this stuff. And so we opted to pay a little bit more to get that value, to get that added value of having a guide who'd already done it, who'd already walked the path, taken the hike, knew how to do it safely, knew some cool side things to show us, to have a much better and a much easier experience. And I just thought about how appropriate that is in all kinds of situations, because, for so much of my life, and for those of you who read my book, you've read these stories before, but for so many years, I was trying to figure everything out on my own. And I thought it was a real badge of honor and courage and self-something. I don't even know what I thought, to do it on my own. I'll do this myself. I could do it. I'm tough. I'm smart. And really, it was just stubborn. And really, it just took way longer than it could have. So every time since I've made 4 major investments in coaches since 2010. The first was Marie Forleo to help me with my business. The second was Shayla Davison to help me with my life. The third was this year, Jesse Elder, who you may or may not have heard on the podcast in Manvember. And then the fourth is a coach I just hired recently. And so it just accelerates. It's like getting a time machine, right? So even that guide on the kayaking trip, it was like having a time machine, because if Michael and I would have had to keep a map out, figure things out, look for things, maybe get lost, try to navigate it on our own, it wouldn't have been as easy. It wouldn't have been as enjoyable. And there are so many more potential barriers to entry and hurdles than just having someone who knows what's up, being like, oh, hey, watch out for that. Hey, don't do that. Oh, hey, go this way, or oh, that works better. And so that's what it's like when you get guidance. So I just wanted to set that straight for you in case you do ever have those moments of being like, oh, well, should I not be listening to this advice? Shouldn't I be going within? And the answer is yes, you should always be going within. And yes, you should always be cultivating the tools to do so with confidence and with ease, and when you're getting consistent results and consistent outcome. And sometimes, though, you just have stuff that you can't see, right? Like you can't see your own blind spots. So it's useful to have someone objective to help guide you on the path. So that said, I would now like to guide you in how I like to wrap up a year, open up a new year. And the energy, even just like the month of December going into January, is such a potent time of year. If you're in the northern hemisphere, we're in the winter solstice, post-winter solstice time. And so it's like that hibernation season when you want to go inward and when you really want to get intentional and connect to yourself, maybe even look at, some things that maybe you've been not paying attention to. And so that you can start fresh, right? And the only reason when we reflect, we're not doing it to beat ourselves up or to relive the past. Our intention here is always so we can learn from it and then move forward. We don't have to stay in the past. We can look back at the past and get the lessons without having to stay in it, right? Or without having to relive it or beat ourselves up about things. So make it useful. So yesterday on one of my group coaching calls, I shared the difference between when you take life's issues and situations and circumstances head on and when you don't, and what often happens. So if when something is readily, it's obvious, it's at the surface, it's currently it's current pain, right? It's currently painful or stressful or anxiety inducing. That is something that's life communicating to you that thing wants to be handled. It wouldn't be up. It wouldn't be present if it didn't want to be handled. So when something like that comes up and you deny it, or you try to stuff it or avoid it or pretend it's not happening, sometimes then what needs to happen is the signs need to be louder and more aggressive. And so lots of times when people have really major life events, a car accident, a traumatic injury, an illness, or something happens to somebody else, or they lose a job, or they lose their house, or there's a fire, crazy stuff is often happening to really, really, really get your attention and be like, hey, this thing is up. You've known it's been up. Please, please, please pay attention to it. And so instead of having to let things escalate to a point where awful things have to happen to get your attention, it's cool to just go, okay, if this is up, let me deal with it. And so again, it's another great reason to have a guide. So going into a new year, as you look back, here's what I would do. I love, first of all, before I even look back, I love celebrating as I look back on what went well. This is the same. I teach this as a daily practice as well, to make a what I did list at the end of the night. So often people are ending up days thinking about all the things they didn't do, all the things they didn't get done, all the things that, God, I'll just have to do that tomorrow. And they feel stressed. Instead of first starting by celebrating all the things they did do, all the things they accomplished, all the things that went well. And so that raises your energy, that builds your confidence. And then you can look at, okay, what do I need to do tomorrow? Not coming from a place of feeling like crap, beating yourself up and feeling stressed and overwhelmed, but coming from a really empowered place, like, well, damn, I actually got a lot of stuff done today, and patting yourself on the back. So it's the same way from one year into the next. often, again, it's really easy to look back. What were my goals for this year? Oh, well, I didn't hit that. I didn't do that. Crap, I'm the worst. Or you can go, man, look at all the things I did this year, and just really celebrate and really make a list. This is a great thing to share with other people, by the way, to celebrate. What are all the great things that you experienced or accomplished in 2015? So celebrate that. And then also feel free to kind of ditch, what those goals were anyway, if you want, because you were a much younger version of yourself when you set those goals. So it's totally okay to go, you know what? I'm just going to wipe the slate clean. But if it feels useful for you in some way to review the goals, and if you want to carry them into the new year, great. Or if not, you could just start fresh. You could just set new goals that feel clear and that feel aligned with, who you are now and what you're going for. So that's one of my rituals. If there's anything that comes up for you that you're having trouble letting go of, I highly, highly recommend, and you've heard me recommend this now if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, I'm always going to recommend the power of forgiveness work. Doing some forgiveness, do some ho'oponopono on anything from the year 2015. See, Train of Truth is coming through. You hear that noise in the background. This means do it. Really, really do some healing work. That ho'oponopono, you can go to untameyourself.com/forgiveness, and we'll put this in the show notes too, to see how that practice works. This is a great thing to do on your own, or again, share with a loved one or a small intimate group of people so you can witness each other and make it even more potent. Do some forgiveness work to clear out anything that didn't go the way you wanted it to go this year, or anything that was painful or stressful, so that you don't have to carry it into the new year. And even in just like a more mild way, you could just make a list, right? Make a list of what went well, what didn't go well, the lessons you learned from the things that did go well, the lessons you learned from the things that didn't go well. And then one of the things I love to do is actually burn that list. Burn that list so you could literally, again, release it and start fresh. Because one of the things we do at humans is we love to drag things out. Just earlier today on Facebook, I posted a video of myself just shaking my arms, shaking my legs, shaking my whole body. I had a conversation with my friend Rachel, and she brought up how the way animals deal with trauma is they just shake it off, like literally. Like if some kind of animal was being chased by some other animal and they escaped, when they were done, they would have a quick shake and then get on with it. They wouldn't hold on to it. They wouldn't live out the rest of their animal life, thinking about that one time that other animal chased them. So they would just adjust their behavior and move forward. And so for us as humans, we have a lot of thoughts and feelings that get in the way from us just being able to shake something off and move on. So I recommend it as a practice to physically shake things out too. That might be a cool idea, to take your list of things that you want to leave in 2015 and, say the thing and then shake it out. Like literally think about physiologically shaking it out of your body. So it's another cool and fun thing you can do. And then, so last year I made a vision board, and this is how I made the vision board. I wrote down, what were my core desired feelings going into the year? How did I want to feel? What did I want to create? And I selected images to put on the vision board that made me feel the way I wanted to feel. So actually, for those of you who are watching, you can see my 2015 vision board is behind me. So I don't know that I'm going to make another one in 2016. I'm a lot more into journaling now and just reviewing my goals and visioning stuff like that more consistently. But that's what I did last year. So instead of just focusing on the things that you want, which in some cases really just has us feeling super attached to the specific things, instead of the vibe of the thing or possibly being open to getting that or something better, you could just leave it more around, what are the outcomes that I want to experience. And so I'll give you one last thing. So for me, as I go into 2016, the biggest vision that I'm focused on is upgrading my living space. And one of the reasons I'm choosing to focus on that is because, and I've done this actually a lot. It's funny how every couple of years I come back to this as my future home being the thing that I focus on. And the reason for that is, to me, that home, that upgraded space represents all the other things that have had to happen falling into place. I need to make more money. I need to be more decisive. I need to be more organized. There's all these other things that need to fall into place in order for me to be able to really receive and find the type of upgraded living space I want to have. So I like to choose a vision around things that are not just inspirational, but actually pull me forward. They're compelling. I have to take action. I have to work on a number of different areas of my life to be able to get there, achieve it, and accomplishment. But the thing is, I don't need to focus on how it's going to happen. If I just stay aligns with the vision, if I review it every day, and if I even just get really clear on the actual, visualizing it, I'm going to take better actions. I'm going to be more guided and inspired in my daily and in my everyday life. So those are just some ideas for you. I know I bounced around all over the place. We'll have links to any of those things that I mentioned, Jesse Elder's episode. I did write a blog post last year about how to go into the new year in an untamed way, or in a wild soul way, or something like that. So we'll link that up in the show notes. You could always find the show notes at untameyourself.com/UW podcast. And on the way out here, for people who've been considering applying for my mentorship in 2016, I've extended the application period to be through January 9th, I believe, or January 7th, whatever is a Monday. I'm not super great on calendars. Nope. So I guess it's January 11th. So I've extended the application period through January 11th. That's actually the week the program starts. So, if anyone's interested in that, you can go to untameyourself.com/mentorship and fill out an application. I hope you have a beautiful and amazing new year. If you're listening to this after the new year, I hope you're enjoying whatever day or week or period in time that it is. It could be years from now. And come over to the Facebook group. Join our ongoing conversation. It's untameyourself.com/Facebook. So thank you again so much, and I will speak to you and see you later.
In fact, it's not that you get to the body you want and then you become happy and judgment free and all that, but you can actually, in the reverse, work on becoming judgment free, or the best you can do, and your body will respond accordingly. And this is one of those things that I speak with women about, and almost everyone will go, wait, it's like that one magic vacation I had. Like everyone has a moment where they were like, wait, there was that one time where I ate pasta all day because I was in Italy and I was in love and I was so happy and I weighed less than I ever have. And you're like, right.